Okay, good morning, everyone. This is Audrey Russo, President and CEO of the Pittsburgh Technology Council. And while it's 2021 and we've been through quite a year, I still think I have one of the coolest jobs in Pittsburgh because I get a chance to connect with amazing people who are actually changing their companies, changing the way people work, changing the way people live, and driving change, which is just incredible. So you're going to hear from some amazing people here today. So thank you so much for joining us. This is our first CIO Insights of 2021, and just hard to believe that it's been a year. But, you know, spring is here, and we know that we're going to still be doing a lot of cool things to make sure that the tech community is tethered. And I use that word tethered very often because it's important for us to stay connected and know what's happening right in our backyards, despite very often we're working inside our own companies. And there's lots of ways to benefit through lots of relationships. So we have, since last March, we have heard from 20 CIOs, and we will continue to offer these virtual programs. That's been part of the feedback until it's safe for us to meet in person again. I personally have had both shots, but I can tell you it hasn't completely changed my the way that I behave yet. It's been too new. One minute I remember I need to wear a mask, the next minute I forget my mask. I mean, I'm just, spazzing out all over. I think I've been a hermit for too long. So hopefully all of you have vaccines in your near future, and that maybe we can at least see each other again. I never thought I would miss hugs, but I think I do. I think I miss some hugs. So if you see me and I start doing that, just bear with me. So we, as with all of our programs here for CIO Insights, we're also going to offer an opportunity for networking. So we'll have a breakout session afterwards, and it'd be awesome for all of you to just network. Just talk to one another. It doesn't have to be that long. Figure out if there's some natural pathways. People are working on incredible things outside of their jobs as well. And you're going to hear about that in a little bit. And all of that work makes this region amazing. So I need to thank our sponsors, because we can't do any of this work without them. We just can't. And I want to thank CGI first. They've been around for a long time, since 1976, and they're pretty massive. They are really considered the world's largest IT and business consulting firm, with over, now I think it's 500, and here it says 400, but I know they have a presence in Pittsburgh, and they've just expanded in Columbus, and we like to think of Columbus as a suburb of Pittsburgh. So we stay connected there. So they've been around here for 30 years, and they have an innovation center. If you don't know them, get to know them, because they're doing incredible work. And then participating sponsors, Avanade. If you don't know Avanade, they are a global professional services company providing IT consulting and services in Pittsburgh. They are a Microsoft partner, and they're focused on the Microsoft platform and specialize in AI, as well as business analytics, cloud, app services, digital transformation, what's the modern workplace, security, technology, and some managed service offerings. So thank you, Avanade, for being here. And then Okta. Okta is the one platform that's really there to serve security, so protect us in terms of, what is that trusted platform in your workforce. So they have more than 10,000 customers trust Okta, and both their software and their APIs to sign in, authorize, manage users. Can't think of a more important strategy that you need over this last year while everyone's been working from home. And Snowflake. Snowflake delivers Data Cloud, a global network where thousands of companies and organizations mobilize data with near unlimited scale, concurrency and performance. And inside the Data Cloud, they unite their siloed data, easily discover and securely share governed data. So today you can see that these sponsors are doing everything that they can across the IT world in terms of support and security, as well as integrated services. So thrilled to have them. So I also want, before I introduce today's moderator, I want to let you know that the Pittsburgh Tech Council has recently partnered with RedchairPGH, As we work through the logistics of our newly formed union, you'll begin to see more RedchairPGH programming and connections working with us to combine efforts in giving women a seat at the table all across technology and innovation in our region. So I'm very excited about that. We've helped their work over time. They're going to still do what they do and be on their own and make sure that but we want to make sure that all these programs, and particularly RedChair, are interconnected. They're interconnected in terms of the work that's doing, and that we're leveraging that. So that means for all of us, that includes talent, leadership, hard discussions, good old-fashioned networking, but really building a platform where we're really addressing things, because they have a hackathon I know coming up. There's so many different things that they're doing. I'm really proud of them. I'm really proud of what they've done. So today we have two RedchairPGH board members, and they're both from ThermoFisher Scientific, and Kathleen Lovett, who's one of our panelists, and Dayna Martin, who is our moderator. So I'm very excited about that. And then if you have any questions about RedChair Pittsburgh, I'm doing a plug for it, obviously, because I care about this stuff and like to get involved, just put something in the chat. We're happy to, make sure that you're connected. My focus, our focus, is to have a hand in fostering quality, equity, and quality in terms of real connections, and equity in terms of moving the needle, and really moving the needle in a material way. So just add, we'll put something in the chat. So right now I'm going to be quiet. I'm going to go get another cup of coffee and sit and listen. And I am thrilled to introduce today's moderator. I mentioned earlier that it's Dayna Martin. She is the Director of IT of Fisher Healthcare, and she'll probably explain the difference between all these different titles. So I'm going to back away, and I'm going to pass the baton to Dayna. I want to thank all of you for being here, and I am going to get a cup of coffee and just enjoy this conversation. So thank you, Dayna.
All right, thank you, Audrey. I really appreciate it. Well, good morning, everyone, and happy Wednesday. I am extremely honored and privileged to be here moderating this amazing event for our CIO Insights on behalf of the Pittsburgh Technology Council and RedChair Pittsburgh. So as Audrey mentioned, I am the Director of IT for Fisher Healthcare. It is a division of ThermoFisher Scientific, and we have been very busy this past year helping with the pandemic. The division in particular that I work for, some of us are based here out of Pittsburgh, supports the hospitals and reference labs with all of the testing and storage of the vaccines and all of the other integral components that are helping to fight this crazy pandemic. So with that, I would like to pass it over and have each of our guests introduce themselves briefly. So Rick, can we start with you?
Sure, Rick Smith. I am Senior Vice President and CIO here at Wabtec. Wabtec, if you're not familiar with Wabtec, we're a rail products company. We make everything from large freight locomotives down to little rubber grommets. So very diverse set of products and services as well. So we've been working also very hard through the pandemic. We of course have manufacturing facilities, and we're protected in the sense of supporting, especially through services, the movement of freight and people around the country. So, but we've definitely shifted. We have many people working in offices who are remote now, working from various places outside of the corporate office. So so that's new for us, and something we've been adapting to through the pandemic. So I've been here about 7 years, Pittsburgh native, moved away after college, but came back to the exciting world of Pittsburgh technology about 7 years ago.
Thank you, Rick. All right, Kathleen.
Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm Kathleen Lovett, Vice President of our digital operations and portfolio teams that really provide our e-commerce capabilities to ThermoFisher Scientific. As Dayna mentioned, certainly for us, we've been front and center as part of the COVID-19 pandemic. I really take pride and I'm humbled by our company's mission, where we are focused every day on making the world healthier, cleaner, and safer. We have about 75,000 colleagues across the world. Our Pittsburgh office location is home to the distribution channel part of our business, as well as some of our corporate functions, which is where a lot of our digital teams sit. I mean, this past year certainly pushed the envelope for us with really rapidly deploying new COVID-19 diagnostics and vaccine-related products. So you've likely used or seen some of our products in the doctor's office or hospitals. But thrilled to be here today. And I think for us, just as we've been progressing through the pandemic, well, certainly our Pittsburgh office locations are more remote at this point. Our manufacturing and distribution centers haven't slowed down. So, thanks to the Pittsburgh Tech Council and the sponsors for hosting us today, and thrilled to be here.
Thank you, Kathleen. Chuck.
Thanks, Dayna. Good morning. Chuck Graham. I'm the Vice President, Chief Information Officer at the Community College of Allegheny County, affectionately known as CCAC, I guess, to the local folks. Been with the college now a little over 3 years. Background in IT, close to 30 years, working in various areas. Started out as a software engineer, worked my way up from there. Been in leadership roles over the last 18 years. A little bit about CCAC. We support around 40,000 customers between students and local industry, as well as our Allegheny County taxpayers and various events sponsored through CCAC or with other organizations. On average, we have roughly between 13,000 to 16,000 students at any one time. That's between part-time, full-time, and non-credited students as well. So people that are out in industry looking for certificate programs, things of that nature to help from a career standpoint. Within the department here, the technical services area, we service pretty much everything in the college, 7 functional areas between networking services all the way through our service desk, learning and development. Staff size, we have around 64 individuals that help support roughly 2,500 administration and faculty that work here at the college. Our current work situation is kind of a hybrid. We have part of my staff works remotely. We come in, work partial days of the week, work from home other days. The majority of our faculty are working remotely, providing off-site training and learning opportunities for students. I think that's going to stay that way probably until this fall. So thank you very much, Dayna.
Thanks, Chuck. How about Don?
Thanks, Dayna. Thanks for having me. I'm Don Bender. I'm the Chief Technology Director at GAI Consultants. For those of you who don't know GAI, we are a professional service firm, primarily servicing the engineering and energy markets. I think I represent the small to mid-sized business on this panel, being under 1,000 employees and under 150 million in revenue. I have a small IT team as well. We're only 18 strong. We kind of organize by, we have service desk and IT operations. We have enterprise solutions, and then security, risk, and compliance. Now, looking at my role at GAI, it's probably not even as much about technology. I don't even think I consider myself a technologist anymore. It's really about organizational change management, risk management, problem solving. Certainly we use technology, but my role is becoming more and more less about it. And currently about 80 to 90% of our workforce is working remotely. I won't say at home because we have people in the field and we have people at alternative locations. So they don't want to hear people saying, "Hey, you guys get to work at home." So we have majority of our people are working remotely. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Don. And Jeff.
Yes, thanks, Don, for setting that up about folks working remotely in all kinds of different areas. So name's Jeffrey Devlin, Port Authority of Allegheny County. I'm the CIO, about 3 years old there after about 25 years in the education sector. So Chuck and I have a lot in common there also. So it's really neat for me to be here and see all the different experiences of folks as we sort of merge and meld our way through our careers. So as you may know, the Port Authority is moving folks around all over the region here at Allegheny County. We run buses, trains, and inclines. And while many of you may not be using our services at this time, we look forward to when you're ready to come back into the office hopefully later this year or sooner. But we're still running. We have lots of folks using the services to get to the grocery store, the doctors. Hopefully soon we'll be able to use our services to get back to entertainment, such as Penguin games, Steeler games, Pirate games, and concerts. So thank you, Dayna. Very excited to be here.
All right, thank you. I'm so excited to have you all here. So we have about 5 questions that we want to ask. So Don, I'm going to throw this one out to you first, and then everyone else feel free to chime in. So guys, we're approaching the 1-year anniversary of the COVID-19 lockdown. So my ask is, what has been your biggest learning experience over this past year?
Oh, learning experience. You always have toilet paper. Who knew? No, I think that we need to find, more ways to engage our employees and drive inclusion. We need to find better ways to promote culture in that human side of the business, that sense of community and maintain the people part. I think you don't want people to disappear. You want them to feel included, and you need to find new ways to engage them. Data protection and risk management, I think, is coming to the forefront. Our networks, I'll quote, grow larger beyond our walls every day. We need to focus on keeping our assets safe. The other thing I would think, from the learning experience is embrace the cloud. Even if it's just part of your business continuity strategy, the flexibility and agility that the cloud provides, it allows us to quickly respond to things like this pandemic. I would say become more software and app driven and less reliant on hardware. And my apologies to any hardware vendor that's on this call. I love you too. But supply chains don't always thrive in a pandemic or, emergency type situations. How many of us had to scramble or had difficulties procuring laptops, headsets, et cetera? It's not their finest hour. So, if you become less reliant on them, the more flexibility you have. And I think the last thing is, look for, silver linings and opportunities and lessons learned in all of this stuff. I think GAI is actually, I hate to say it, we benefited from the pandemic, not from a business perspective, but really understanding and proving, because in my culture, it's a lot about, proving what you can do, that work can be done remotely and in alternative work locations, and which employees can actually do it and still perform and thrive. And it really has changed the firm's strategy on real estate. We're going to downsize our real estate portfolios, and we're going to look to, leverage that hybrid workforce and the alternative workforce to really affect some of the bottom line and overhead in the company. So I do think that, it's been a horrible situation for all of us, but, there is some lessons learned. Failure is often the best teacher. And I think that, as we get back into this, there's a lot of good, some things we can take away, that we can do things a little differently. Thanks, Dayna.
Thank you, Don. Does anyone else have any lessons learned that they'd like to share?
Yeah, Dayna. Oh, go ahead, Jeff. Go ahead, Jeff.
All right, we'll fight over it. No, I would absolutely agree. In processes that maybe were set in the late 1980s or 1990 perspective, you're very much able to move those forward now, from a digital signature to how file collaboration occurs to, while you can't have those water cooler conversations, you can get a quick Teams call going and have a conversation with folks now. Just changes that dynamic a little bit. So completely agree.
Chuck, did you have anything to add?
Yeah, thank you. Just to follow up on Dawn, I think culturally, at least from my experience at the college, it was very interesting. Being here only 3 years and first opportunity for me to work in higher ed, coming from industry, from financial services and areas like that. Very much kind of traditional, coming into the place, working with students face to face, having people in the same room. So there's a huge cultural shift for faculty and others about what the new way is of learning and providing services. That was something that was fairly difficult from a faculty standpoint to get them kind of accustomed to the concepts and teaching a different way. So it's the culture. I'd say training and development. We had to quickly ramp up a lot of training for the technology that needed to be used for, virtualization and teaching remotely, things of that nature, and being creative with the technology, right? I think that was really important to make sure that ways you've used technology in the past, you kind of have to reinvent some of that in order to help support your customers and make things work probably in non-traditional ways, especially with what we've had with COVID and the pandemic. Being creative was the key to keeping things moving for us.
Right. If you didn't have an IT business partner, you sure had one over the last year, right?
Yes.
Oh my goodness. Well, I just kind of want to even elaborate on that, because you talked a little bit about collaboration and your strategy changing. So maybe Jeff, I'll throw this one back out to you. We'll round it out. How has your collaboration strategy changed with your IT partners and your business stakeholders during this alternate work location era? How did you see those interactions changing or not changing in areas like, recruiting, your top talent, training, just as we're transitioning, between office locations and other locations? How has that all made a difference?
Yeah, let me address that sort of in two different ways. One is for our stakeholders, our customers. About 2 years ago, we released our bus capacity services on our TrueTime tools so that you would know when you're coming to get on a bus or train whether you're actually going to get a seat. Well, that all shifted, right? Now we have bus capacity limits, so we can only allow a certain number of people on the bus. So now your concern is there going to be a space for me on that bus of the 15 people that are allowed on there? So Ellie Newman on our group developed a new tool called Room to Ride, where you could look at projections from past history and see if tomorrow's 10 a.m. bus traditionally has enough room for you to get on or not. And then when you get to 10 a.m. tomorrow, you can look at that actual bus through our GPS tracking on TrueTime and see when it's coming, how many people are actually on it. So we've really shifted our model from saying, this is how many people on the bus will I get a seat, to this is how few people on a bus will I get a space. So that's a big shift for us, because we're used to fitting as many people as safely possible on our vehicles, right? So the second one is internal. Let's talk about bringing new people on. We brought about 3 new people into the division in the past year, and it was really challenging, actually 4 people, really challenging for them to get to know folks around the group. So one thing we do is a few of us every morning at 9:30, we have a stand-up call. And it's really just a chance to get together and talk. But what I find it's been very interesting is Group A and Group B, who historically would have had to have a meeting to talk about projects, just naturally now throw things back and forth. And we accomplish so much in that quick 20 to 30 minutes in the morning, where we talk about what movies we watched on Netflix last night, and then we talked about how these projects intersect. So there's been huge value in this quick little 20, 30 minute stand-up call every morning to let people get to know each other, A, have some mental connection with each other, B, and then C, be able to share project stuff that frankly we would have never been able to do in past times.
That's fantastic. I think we also have those little touch point meetings just to check in. I think that's become standard practice across the board. Fantastic. Anyone else have thoughts on how strategies have impacted, or how the pandemic has impacted your overall strategy in some of these areas?
I mean,
I think for us, Dayna.
Go ahead, Kathleen.
I think for us, Dayna, too. I mean, definitely, our talent and our recruitment strategies. I mean, we've now have a new viewpoint on where talent can be sourced. I mean, in particular, the onboarding, sort of the virtual onboarding. We've had some online trainings and support for colleagues in the past, but the adoption, the usage, and the ability to use more 3D virtual reality, in particular with onboarding colleagues in our manufacturing units, has been huge. And so that's one, I think, Jeff, to your comment too, with the different coffee chats or check-ins that we've used, we've actually been able to build, I think, some deeper colleague relationships that has helped us overall have a culture that we're really, really even more collaborative than we were before. And we understand sort of the different perspectives people are bringing to the table as well.
Yeah, hey, this is, I wanted to kick in on really that same point. We have a very spread out IT team. We tend to do a lot of acquisitions And so we pick up IT people from these companies. So we're spread around quite a bit. It's actually been, nice for a lot of those people who are in smaller locations, not with the large teams in headquarters and things like that, to be on somewhat of an even playing field with everybody else, kind of participating in the social activities, which they couldn't do before because those things happened, after hours down the street from the office kind of thing. And now they're online. So it's definitely been, an opportunity for more people to engage for us as well.
Fantastic. Anyone dealing with some burnout issues, or how might they exist?
Oh, yeah.
Go ahead, Chuck.
Yeah.
Now I was going to expand just on Rick, excuse me, on Rick's comment regarding, I think a few of the positives, even though I'll say onboarding and things of that nature have been challenging with bringing on new staff, with the remote situation, and the fact that a good majority of that may end up staying as is or similar to that. It does give us the ability to reach out to those areas in the suburbs and other places where there may be resources, technical folks that we're looking to bring on that maybe in the past, because of just geographics where they live, they may not be close to a city environment. It may be difficult for them to come work for an organization that expects individuals to be able to come into an office. It gives us the ability to recruit those types of people, get them into the fold, out in the further out suburbs in those areas, and actually, I'll say, expand our reach when it comes to looking for human resources and good staff to bring on board. So,
Excellent point.
Yeah, I think I agree with Chuck. From a recruiting standpoint, I think it's nice in our business. A little bit of flexibility goes a long way. But from a training or leadership or mentorship, I don't think it's been very good. It's hard to build relationships remote. We're getting used to it. We're getting accustomed, but we still have a long way to go. I think it's still in our world. We're engineers, most of us, and it's culturally harder to embrace memes and emojis than handshakes and pats on the back. It just is.
no, true.
And you're not going to disconnect that human aspect of it. We are a people business, and it's been a challenge. And it's been a challenge culturally in some of these things for these guys, for my customers to really embrace doing something a different way. So
Fantastic.
Yeah, we just talked about that, where in the past, before a year ago, you could walk down the hall and spend a few minutes asking somebody about whatever information you may need. Now it's a meeting. It's a Zoom meeting. It's a 20-minute, half-hour meeting. It becomes a bigger activity than what it would be, as you're saying, Don, where you have that interaction. It's much closer in contact. So
more thoughtful to navigate through your day, right? A lot more meetings. So guys, I'm going to switch gears just a little bit. Kathleen, I'm going to throw this one out to you. So, as you're looking to develop your IT strategic roadmap for the next 3 years, and given all the great new innovative solutions that have been developed, et cetera, what do you think will enable your company, ThermoFisher, really to move that needle? Are you focused on particular areas or types of software like automation or e-commerce, those types of things?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, with COVID, despite the challenges, obviously, that we're dealing with every day in our personal lives, it brought new accelerated adoption of a lot of the digital capabilities. And so for us, I mean, continued investments and innovations that will be instrumental will be around some of our e-commerce capabilities. I mean, we really saw the accelerated adoption and usage, not only for online sales and purchases, but also for customer education. I mean, we developed more immersive experiences. A lot of the focus that we have and will continue to have is on that persona base. So thinking about our customers individually and what's most meaningful for them. So we developed 3D models as an example of our instruments so that our sales team could do product demos with our customers. and being able to have additional education to support them. No longer were we in a world that we could have people go on site and really more hands-on train our customers. So that pivot was really one that will set us up just with more flexibility in the future based on the persona. And I already commented a bit to even some of the virtual reality tools that we're doing for our internal colleagues. Another area for us is really around the data. So we are a data-driven organization. And certainly with COVID, it put a lot of those activities on steroids per se. We have, over the past few years, been really focused on building out our enterprise data platform as a key foundational enabler for us. But truly with COVID and being able to pull in customer insights across the different divisions, particularly as we've gone through M&A, that data and the ability to govern and manage it well will continue to be core. We've been able to tie together some of that information to provide some insights using some data science capabilities, really bringing more automation to the table as well as we think of even how we service our customers from our customer service group, where we're looking at, as an example on our websites, we manage millions of products. And so how do we make sure that each SKU of a product ties together so that we understand that the customer understands what they're ordering and can get the right product at the end of the day. So that's more complex than some might understand or really have an appreciation for. But, the descriptions and making sure that scientific education behind it and how other people in the community are using it will continue to be paramount, and having that available more online. The other piece, and we joke about our COVID speed, really that's a cultural piece that will continue to stay. We've really driven collectively as a team, just the speed to respond to the pandemic. I mean, as I mentioned, it's truly humbling to have sort of the impact that we are as we've worked with governments and different organizations really across the globe. And that culture of us being more agile and using more of that MVP approach to prove out what some of those solutions, that will continue to be instrumental for us and really drive that strategic roadmap moving forward. We know, some of these key things that we need to be focused on with the e-commerce, the data in particular, but that cultural element will be just as important to really help us continue to be flexible and nimble to respond to market needs.
I really think it was a strong cultural enhancement addition to what we have at Thermo. There was a lot of trying out new things, failing fast, what works, what didn't work, pick it up, move forward. So wonderful. Anyone else have some thoughts about how their strategies are being defined in the next 3 to 5 years?
Pretty similar to Kathleen. I mean, we use the customer as a way to kind of help set what the roadmap looks like. We do customer surveys, things of that nature, to gather information about products and services that we may be offering to help guide us directionally on what makes sense, what's getting them what they need, or what might not be meeting the mark, and then we adjust off of that. So it's kind of ours as students and students and faculty. It's pretty specific to specialized student services, things of that nature. So a lot of that's geared toward really it's generational, right? So as new sets of students come in, their needs and wants change and develop over time. So that's what kind of guides us when it comes to providing those types of services.
Fantastic. Enhanced customer experience always drives the roadmap. Wonderful. So Rick, I've got one coming your way here. I know a lot of companies these days have the buzzwords. We're talking about digital business transformation. So, what does that mean for Wabtec, and how are your teams looking to enable it? You've got unique experiences, lots of mergers, people everywhere. So.
So certainly digital transformation is a word we throw around a lot, and or a couple words, and as you said, it can mean a lot of different things. We've had an opportunity here in the last 2 years. We merged with GE's transportation division 2 years ago. A lot of difference in terms of the history on both sides. GE was a very large company with a lot of automation. Wabtec was a smaller company, made up of a lot of acquisitions and not as connected and automated, let's say. But we had a 2-year challenge to exit a bunch of services that we were getting from GE as part of the transition, and we really leveraged that to really drive this kind of digital transformation. Right? We had to migrate tools, but we also had to build a lot of new tools. And when we did that, it created a real opportunity for us to kind of accelerate that transformation. So we've done a lot with new technologies. We've been able to adopt things. Okta is a great example of something that we brought into the organization and we really put across the entire set of platforms. And we had a unique opportunity to do that because we were shifting so many of them at one time. So it's been an opportunity. I'm kind of a believer in trying to do the best with the cards that are dealt to you. And it's been interesting through the pandemic that we had a really challenging 2-year assignment in front of us, and we really kind of doubled down and focused really hard on that during the pandemic. And I think it brought us back to the basics a little bit. Everybody was working very hard, and we used that opportunity to stay focused. And we had enough success with it. We just finished that 2 years about a week and a half ago. We had enough success with it that we were able to secure a lot of funding. And by the way, we supported the business very well through the pandemic. We were really able to leverage all that kind of positive goodwill from the business and the leaders into a big budget this year to do more transformation. So we call it integration 2.0. We could call it transformation 1.0 or 2.0 as well. But really, we're building on this kind of success story that we had with our original integration into what we call integration 2.0.
So what I heard you say, you had some key immediate goals that you had to get to, and then they produced enough results that you were given more money to do more things this year. That's fantastic. Exactly. We love to hear that in IT.
Hopefully that works out for us. But it is interesting because now we have a different kind of challenge, which is not one big light at the end of the tunnel for everybody to focus on. Now a lot of different projects in different areas, and a business that's got some pent up demand. But really, just building on the analogy of dealing, working with the cards you're dealt. I think you can kind of change the game, right? So you may not be able to change your cards, but you may be able to change the game you're playing if you're opportunistic and you see the things that have been successful and the things you're strong at, and you try to leverage those, going forward.
Thank you so much.
I actually have a follow-up question for Rick. Sorry, Rick, you're not off the hook. So tell us a little bit about your perspectives around, I shouldn't be doing this, I'm not supposed to be on it.
No, go right ahead.
About what digital tools you're using to help people stay focused and collaborate as you work through these. Because I'm wondering if you're seeing the same as we are, that the tools that are available now make it so much more efficient to stay in touch and in tune and work through these processes, where 5 years ago, 10 years ago, it would have just been really challenging. So I'm just wondering how you managed through that.
Yeah, well, I mean, certainly so I think it was Don maybe who talked about the cloud earlier, right? We did, migrate a lot to the cloud. 5 years ago, we adopted the Microsoft platforms, and we moved to Salesforce, and we moved to ServiceNow and some of these products, which have made it very easy to shift and expand and add to our capabilities. We have a new deal with AWS on the back end of this kind of integration work we did. So that's been helpful. We use Teams. I mean, we live on Teams. It's kind of a joke, that when we were talking earlier, you're off of one meeting at 8:30 and on the next one at 8:31. And so it also kind of drives this kind of burnout on Teams or Zoom or whatever products you're using. But we've also used some other, more specific platforms for larger meetings and things like that. We've been able to use, several different platforms and kind of try them out. Different ones have different capabilities in terms of large groups and things like that. And it's an area, I mean, gosh, 2 years ago or a year ago, maybe, how many people were really familiar with Zoom or had used Zoom. And now there's been this kind of leapfrogging thing, I think, going on in terms of capabilities between these major, platforms that you use for collaboration, like you said. And we use SharePoint and a lot of other tools like that. So, you don't have to VPN into the company to get to the shared drive anymore, like you used to do, 10 years ago. So that's made it easy for people to work remote. But we did have to kind of double down on security, right? So it kind of exposed, maybe expose isn't the right word. I think some people took more advantage of the opportunity of people working remote to try to challenge business processes that maybe used to count on a handshake or looking eye to eye at somebody. And we've had to really increase our vigilance around those processes to make sure, we're not kind of duped into something we shouldn't be.
Thank you. Fantastic insight, Rick. I really appreciate it. And we'll be cognizant of time. We've got one great question left for Chuck, and I think this is so important.
It's a loaded question, yeah.
It is a loaded question, so I'm going to give you some time to answer it in depth. IT is such it's an integral part of our world now. It's our phones, it's how we shop, it's how we manage our household appliances. What skills will the IT workforce of the future need to have, and how are you helping to provide those skills?
So, yeah, that's a whole lot of stuff. But so here's what I took kind of a logical approach from CCAC, right? And I took a look at the programs that CCAC offers, because we constantly go through and we revamp a lot of the programs because the concept is we want students coming out that are marketable, that are going to get employed, and they're going to be in the industry, specifically in a lot of key areas, but if we're talking technology and technology field. So I kind of broke it down high level and took a look at some of the programs that we offer and why we offer them. So into interpretation, no particular order, but things I mentioned that I noted here were, I think, network services, network engineering, architecture, including wireless and cellular. Those areas are extremely big. Mechatronics is another area that I think is extremely important from a skill standpoint. Anything that has to do with virtual services as well. We've talked a little bit about that with some of the other questions. Obviously, cybersecurity and information security are very important with all these systems now, data management, and the security and access into these various systems, either if it's hardwired through CAT or if it's wireless. Those types of things is extremely important. Data analytics, we talked about that a little earlier. Data science, data management, platform architecture, artificial intelligence, machine learning, and IoT. Those areas are extremely important, and they've been important, but these are the areas that CCAC has been focusing on, ramping up a lot of their programs for students. System administration, integration and integrators, as well as cloud and SaaS services, right? So these skill sets are very important. And kind of last but not least, I'm looking at like process design, continuous performance improvement, those types of areas. So, you get into Lean, Six Sigma, those types of things, where a lot of the work we do, a lot of the technology that we're implementing is really to help better, it's to help better our customer experience, and to help make things easier, quicker, more reliable, more sustainable. So learning all this other technology and not wrapping in the reasons why we're doing it, it really is to make the customer experience much better than what they've had. If we're not going to do that, then what are we doing it for, right? So that's important. And that's kind of a high level from my standpoint. That's a lot of the programs that CCAC offers. And it's interesting being working in the technology department for the college. The college comes to us a lot and asks us about what we're doing to help support the students, if it's student services, if it's advanced technology in a classroom, if it's how back office operation works. And they ask me, what people are you looking for? What skill sets are you looking for in order to be able to run the department? And they use that information and they build a lot of their programs based on that information. So it's kind of nice to know that the input that we give them based on industry is helping them kind of craft and create what the programs need to be for the students, so that ultimately when they leave in 2 to 3 years, they're actually gainfully employed, and they can get into the areas and work for the companies that everybody on the call are representing today, and have good quality IT staff.
Fantastic. I would add to your skills, those other courses that help promote that agile type thinking and communication, because all
Yes.
those skills we need to translate to our business stakeholders, right? Describing how all that technology works. So fantastic. Any other thoughts?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think people.
the only
need to
other
get-
thing.
Oh, go ahead, Kathleen.
Okay. I mean, the only piece that I'd actually, Dayna, to build on what you said is, it is definitely some of the soft skills too, so I think there's an element of sort of empathy and humility. We are technology experts. I mean, that's the hat we wear when we come to the table, certainly from our perspective at ThermoFisher, a lot of what we're doing is truly focus on our customers, internal or external. And so having that ability to explain it, not necessarily own every decision, but provide that guidance to make sure, Rick, like you talked about some of the security pieces, that we're doing what we need to protect our information, our customers, and our colleagues. So that's also important as well as a skill set.
Yeah, I think expanding on what Kathleen said, I'd like to see everybody bilingual. And I'm not talking about English versus Spanish versus French. I'm talking about business versus tech. And regardless on where you are in your career, if you can talk both languages, you can be successful in this business. I'm on a quest, and I'm asking the Tech Council to join me. I want to remove the word user from our vocabulary. Unless you are a drug dealer, you don't have users. You have employees, you have customers, you have patients, you have fans. Guys, it's so derogatory. Get rid of it. Get the virtual swear jar out now. And every time somebody says user, donate to it, and donate to a charity. We got to get out of this. You got to talk business language. Our IT speak is that's a thing of the past, guys.
Listen, I need to just jump in. I have been on a rampage for that.
Yeah.
Rampage, because all I could think of are drug users in a derogatory way.
Even today.
Even user interface design. It's like UX. We have to figure out another word for that as well. Thank you. I'm gonna be quiet.
Great. Oh, fantastic way to kind of round that off. But hey, we have a few minutes. We'd definitely like to open the table or the group chat here for questions. I know you can type in some questions. Monica is helping to monitor the chat. And then I believe, are they able to unmute as well?
Yeah, if they can just put their questions into the chat, I can read them.
Okay, fantastic.
And right now, but we'll give you a couple minutes or a couple seconds to type those in.
There we go. We'll let Don formulate the next steps for removing user from our vocabularies. Post those on. That's fantastic. I never really thought of it that way. But now every time I say it, I'm not going to say it. I'm going to think twice.
Yeah, so it looks like you have been very comprehensive with the discussion. We have no questions. So thank you, Dayna. And we'll let Audrey, Matt has a question from Snowflake. How has the pandemic impacted your use of data and analytics in driving business decisions?
Who would like to take that? Kathleen, I see you nodding.
Sure. For us, it absolutely impacted it. So, as I think of the different data science capabilities that we had and how we're looking at, what are areas that, our customers are needing, different products, really having some of those data rich insights are very important for how we service our customers, as well as, I commented a little bit earlier, how we're looking across our divisions. We've had so much M&A over the years that really tying that together to have meaningful insights, particularly as we saw with the pandemic, with the customer segments we serve, very different needs, whether you're in academic or whether you're in healthcare. Healthcare was booming. We couldn't, that there was so many demands on the organization, whereas academics shut down in a lot of cases. So having those more real time was really important for us to make decisions and act.
It was really critical for us as we looked at our bus capacities and which routes we're still seeing a lot of folks due to essential work, and which routes, say some of our commuter routes weren't as active, that we were able to shift our service around over the course of the pandemic to better serve those areas that were still actively using the service and move some away from those commuter type services that weren't using it. So yeah, we're looking at data literally every day to figure out how to adjust the services to best meet our population and our customers.
Yeah, likewise, Jeff. I mean,
Yeah.
when it comes to scheduling classes, programs, and coursework, it's the same situation. We look at what a typical size of a classroom is, or was, I should say, and what it is currently, and how many classes we could run, what programs we can run, how we schedule those. So it has a pretty significant impact to the course offerings, to how many faculty are needed to actually run the programs or not. So we take that data into consideration 2 semesters before the actual semester is in place. So it's really important for us to do all the analytics on that before we start actually putting out what the programs are going to look like.
Thank you, guys.
We have a question from Bill Balint, who is the CIO of IUP. So he's wondering, as we return to normal, how close will your IT department look in terms of remote work or alternate work versus on-site by 2022 compared to what you were thinking in 2019?
Hey, Bill, it's fair to say that certain functions will need to continue to be on site, like your desktop support.
Right.
They pretty much have to be there. We're really exploring where it
I'll
fits.
debate that.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, okay. I'll say some facets of desktop support will be done remote. You're right, Don. But other facets, like some of our software developers, we're really looking at where it fits to have folks work the most effectively. So at this point, we're still up in the air as we watch through how this pandemic unfolds and starts to open up, what makes sense to have people wear.
Yeah,
Okay,
sorry, Don. Yeah, I think similar kind of perspective at Wabtec. You know, we're a manufacturing company, of course, and so we have plants and people need to be there, and you know, it's kind of the culture of the company, you know, to be present. So we've been really successful being remote. I don't know that you know, we see it as the long-term strategy that everybody would stay remote. But we are, you know, lowering some lease space in big cities and things like that, taking advantage of the fact that we know we can operate this way when we need to. But I think we will, you know, come back towards where we were more than stay where we are now.
I'll just try to take a minute or two to perhaps reintroduce MSA Management Science Associates. We've actually been in the Pittsburgh area for over 6 years.
Wait, he's on mute now.
Yeah. So we have one final question from Rahul Asanakar from Benchmark IT Solutions. And so the question is, what specific innovation have you done around the Employee Engagement Challenge? And that'll be our last question for the day before we go into breakouts. Any comments?
I'm sorry, Monica, can you repeat it?
Yes, it was, what specific innovation have you done around the Employment Engagement Challenge?
I think we heard from some of you talking about your table chats, your coffee chats, different things like that. Anything else beside those?
Yeah, I guess one thing I'd say is we have a division Teams channel, and we're constantly posting things on there to keep folks engaged. Just activities going around the agency, things folks are doing, calling folks out when they get awards or whatever that others may not see because they're not in the office. So I think possibly that Teams chat that we use for the division is probably the key thing we're using for employee engagement.
Yeah, we're using video. So a lot of things that you may have done in person or done through paper or done through meeting in the office, we've digitized. So we've actually done videos quite a bit over the last year. So a lot of student services, we've put videos in place. We put them on the website that explains how to do what they may need to do, as well as people hired on. So we use SharePoint. We've used Panopto as one of the tools we use to do lecture capturing. So we do a lot of that information and post it. We use Monday.com for collaboration. So that's worked out very well for everybody as well.
I think one of the things we're doing,
piece-
we're having every time we get together, we have a team's background challenge. So everybody tries to one up each other on what their team's background is of the day. And we vote on that and have a little fun with it. We're also looking at gamification, trying to get, our customers involved. And, we have some workout challenges going on. And, you submit through some Power Apps and you get, we get some reports out and we have a leaderboard, and it's, we're trying to force it because, like I said, earlier, culture, it's tough. You lose some of it, and unless you really work at it and try, it would be a shame if we lost it. So I think just try something. It might not work. You might fall flat on your face, but just try something. Take a risk.
Yeah, we did virtual graduation last May for I think the first. We're going to do it again this year, but literally no one at the college even understood what that potentially was going to be. So I had a graphics designer and a production person on board on staff, and they basically built the whole graduation ceremony for all of our students, for faculty, and it was a pretty huge success. A lot of people were disappointed that we weren't physically being able to meet and have the graduation out at Oakland. But that being said, the students were very happy that they got acknowledged and there was some sort of form of graduation. So that's kind of an example too.
I know,
I think
Kathleen,
the
you had
other
one thing.
piece- Right. Thanks, Dayna. Yeah, I think the other piece, just to add on, of something that we've done is we host Yam Jams. So basically what it is, and it's one that pulls in our global team. So we schedule it multiple times, really within a week, adjusting for time zones. And it's a way that we can be chat. So we have our IT leadership team on the Yammer. So you're not actually face to face per se, but it's a way for people just to ask questions. We can be very accessible. And even after, people can reflect on some of the conversation and then post comments. So that's been another great way that we've seen a lot of really good engagement there. And then on the team building, I mean, of course, we've done virtual beyond coffee chats, Wheel of Fortune, escape room, ways to really engage the team so that we aren't losing some of that collaboration.
We've created new ERGs as well, one for working parents that have children at home. So
Yeah.
that's been a very successful ERG to provide support. Awesome. Well, Monica, I think that brings us at time.
Yeah. So Audrey, do you want to close us?
Yeah,
us out today?
I'm gonna close out. Want to thank everyone. I think this whole thing about culture is just something that we can't simplify and put into words. But I can tell you from people who are looking to work in Pittsburgh and looking for new jobs and opportunities, this is their number one. This is what they're looking for. They are trying to understand, what's it like to work for Don? What's it like to work for Jeff? What does that mean for my career? How collaborative, how much flexibility, right? And it's just, what are they working on? And I'm glad that we're continuing these conversations. We're not going to land on it, but if there's anything that you have ideas about and ways to further the conversation, we're doing research, just in terms of trying to understand who's doing what's really working, but also understanding that culture is very individual, and it's very individual to the person as well as the corporation. So I think that's the hard work you have. I think all this digitization and all this acceleration and everything you've done to amplify, that's the easy part of your job. All of you knew how to do that, right? You just accelerated your strategic plans in a few weeks instead of a few years. But it's the real brand and the real cultural piece that now everyone knows. Everyone knows what it's like to work at Port Authority or CCAC or, wherever. They know. And they know it by how we've put ourselves through this particular leg of the journey. So thank you for your candor on that. Really appreciate that, and hope we continue these conversations, because these are the complex opportunities we have to collaborate. So tomorrow, I just want to give a couple of things that we're working on at the Tech Council to provide, opportunities for all of you. Is that tomorrow we actually have, we're continuing with the International Trade Compliance Series. That's the topic of technology control, the deemed exports and release of technology and technology data, which affects many people that are in this room right now. And particularly as the world is changing, it's really important to make sure if you have global clients that you are adhering to a lot of these rules. So, and then on the 16th, we have Winning the Talent, and we're focusing on remote work revolution. And I've just got to tell you, I can't tell you how many people call me each and every day and say, what are we doing to become a Zoom town? How do we become a Zoom town? How do we hire people and they work in other areas? What does it mean? So the conversation's endless, and it is not just for HR professionals, because remember, people work for their managers. They don't work for HR. They work for their managers. So, and then we have a Chief Marketing Officer Insight series on B2B marketing. Very often, that's a lot of what Pittsburgh is, B2B. So we have that series going on, and it's focusing on B2B. And then we have Beyond Big Data, that's coming up, and our theme this year is artificial intelligence and machine learning. And the summit is from March 22nd to the 25th. It really is a must-attend event for anyone interested in furthering, their understanding of data analytics, AI, machine learning. And we have some great people that I think you'll want to network with to connect and collaborate. Lots of opportunities for collaboration. So we're going to split you up into 2 smaller groups. I really ask everyone to stay. I know that it's easy to disappear through Zoom. I know that. I do that shtick myself sometimes, but I got to tell you that it's really important for people who sell things and make things to understand what's needed from them. And whether or not they're selling or collaborating with you, it's important for them to hear what kinds of things people who are in leadership in information technology are working on and struggling with, so that they can adapt the kinds of things that they are selling and doing for you. So we're going to split you up into smaller groups. Each networking session just lasts 10 minutes, and then we just change the groups midway through the session. Share your LinkedIn profiles, contact information, and then just take like 30 seconds, just whip around the room. Someone take control of the room. There's no shy people here. Take control of the room and let, just 30 seconds, introduce yourself again, your company, and any of the solutions you provide, or what you are working on, or what really matters to you. That's fine. So, I'm sure you'll have a lot to talk about. This is also hard, right? It's also part of the culture and the work that we do at the Tech Council, trying to keep people, connected in a meaningful way without wasting time, without wasting your time. But, sometimes it's nice to linger a little bit. Maybe that's one of the lessons of this pandemic, is maybe just linger a little bit and, get to know one another, because you never know where it leads. RedChair, you've got 2 people that are on the board of RedChair. You should hear what they're working on and what their vision is, because it really has, this is International Women's Month, by the way. So it's really important to hear what kinds of things they're thinking about. And RedChair is not just filled with women setting the agenda. So just realize that it's definitely not gender specific in terms of that. It's just that the commitment that both men and women have made to make sure that Pittsburgh, isn't behind. We're not having these lagging stories. So I want to thank all of you. Thank you so much, Dayna. You're the best for moderating this. Really appreciate it. Kathleen, I know you're busy as heck, and really appreciate your time with us. Hats off, Chuck, to graduation. Good luck with that.
Thank you.
Jeff, I'm definitely, I've been texting with Catherine. I'm going to be making rounds on the buses probably in the next 2 weeks, talking to her. I might bring a couple of entrepreneurs with me who actually have a commitment to infrastructure and electric vehicles. So we're happy about that. And Dawn, thanks for your candor. Love what you talk about users. I've been saying that all the time. We're not junkies. We're people we're your customers. We're humans. We're people. And Wabtec, thank you so much, Rick, for taking the time. I know that you're awfully busy and you folks are just moving, really fast, trying to figure out what is happening at Neighborhood 91, as well as what's happening all around the United States as well. So appreciate that. My sincere appreciation to everyone who's been with us today. So we'll go into the breakout rooms. If there's anything that I can do for any of you, you know where to find me. Some of you, on LinkedIn, easy to find me. If there's anything that you think I could do or should be doing, just tell me. We're an open book and we're here to serve you all. So thanks everyone. Thank you, Monica.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you in the
Thank
breakout
you.
room.
Monica.
Bye. Thanks, everyone.